Eagles fan, we spend 90% of the week debating about Jalen Hurts, about Kevin Patullo's offensive calls, about Vic Fangio's defense, and about who should be the wide receiver number 3. But there is an inconvenient truth in the NFL, especially when the calendar turns to December and January championships are often decided by the third team. Yes, I am talking about special teams. How many times have we seen magical seasons end in tragedy because of a muffed punt, an inefficient return, or a lack of discipline in kick coverage? It is the type of mistake that haunts franchises for years. And it seems that Howie Roseman and the coaching staff, aware that the margin for error is now zero, decided that they can no longer take risks. A silent but crucial change happened in the last few hours. A changing of the guard at the loneliest and most dangerous position in football, the kick returner. The information brought by Adam LaRose of Pro Football Rumor confirms that Xavier Gibson's experience in Philadelphia has come to an end. The Eagles made the player's waiver official this Saturday. For those who were following closely, Gibson arrived with the promise of bringing explosion and speed to the return game, something the team was desperately looking for after the departures of Kenneth Gainwell and Isaiah Rodgers in free agency last year in this scenario of 2025. But the NFL is a league of immediate results. Gibson had 5 games to show what he came for. He had opportunity, but the front office decided that what they saw was not enough to justify the spot on the 53-man roster heading into the playoff. Let's be fair and coldly analyze his stint. In 5 games wearing green, Gibson was, as expected, an almost exclusive special teams piece. On offense, he was targeted only twice with no relevant impact. His function was clear: catch the ball and run. He returned 6 punts and 7 kickoffs, totaling 246 combined yards in that capacity. Is that a bad number? Not necessarily, but it is also not a number that changes the game. We didn't see that explosive return for a touchdown that flips a match, nor that consistency of always putting the offense on the 40-yard line. He was just okay. And on a team that is fighting for the top and has Super Bowl aspirations, okay is often synonymous with expendable. It is worth humanizing the athlete for a moment. The 2025 season has been a true test of mental endurance for this 24-year-old young man. The news text reminds us of the musical chairs he lived through. He started by being cut by the New York Jets in September. He managed to stay on their practice squad but was soon claimed by the New York Giants. There, he didn't even get on the field and was waived quickly. Then the Eagles claimed him. Now he's cut again. That is 3 teams in a single season. He now goes back to the waiver system where any team can pick him up. If no one wants him, he becomes a free agent again, trying to find a place to land before the end of the year. It is the cruel face of the league. You are useful until the moment they find someone more reliable. And who is this someone more reliable? The text confirms that going forward, the Philadelphia Eagles will use Britton Covey in the returner role. If you have been following the team for some time, this name is not strange. Covey is that player who at first glance does not impress with size or elite speed, but who won the respect of the locker room and the fans for a vital characteristic: safety. Covey is already on the roster, serving as depth at the wide receiver position, and now officially assumes the main responsibility of returning kicks. This swap of Gibson for Covey signals a very clear philosophy change from the coaching staff for the final stretch of the season. Xavier Gibson was the bet on explosiveness and raw athleticism. Britton Covey is the bet on safety and intelligence. When you play in Philadelphia in December and January, the weather changes. The wind at Lincoln Financial Field gets treacherous. The ball gets harder and slippery. The nightmare of any coach is seeing a returner try to make a heroic play, muff the ball, and hand a free touchdown to the opponent. Britton Covey might not be the guy who will run 90 yards for the touchdown every week, but he is the guy who will make the right decision: when to call for the fair catch, when to let the ball go out, and when to advance 10 guaranteed yards without committing turnover. So far in the 2025 season, Covey was little used in this function, since the team was testing other options like Gibson himself. He returned only 1 punt and 1 kickoff so far, but his totals will increase drastically from now on. The coaching staff, led by Michael Clay, special teams coordinator, probably looked at the practices and decided they prefer to sleep soundly, knowing that Covey will secure the ball, than biting their nails, waiting for Gibson to make a magical play or commit a fatal error. Is it a conservative decision? Maybe, but it is a winning football decision. The article touches on a fundamental point the Eagles' offense has faced growing questions. Although offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo is safe for the time being, as the news says, we know the offense is not flowing like in previous years. When your offense struggles to march 80 yards, score points, field position becomes the most valuable currency in the game. If special teams can put Jalen Hurts on the 40 or 50-yard line, it makes everyone's life easier. On the other hand, if the returner makes a mistake and puts the team on the 10-yard line, or worse, loses possession, this puts unsustainable pressure on a defense and an offense that are already operating at the limit. The switch to Covey is an attempt to stabilize at least one of the three phases of the game. Once again, we see Howie Roseman's fingerprint, waiving a player who was a starter in 5 games at the returner position. At this stage of the championship, shows that he has no attachment to mistakes. If the experiment didn't work as expected, cut the loss fast and change the route. Roseman is constantly churning the bottom of the roster. He knows that depth at the wide receiver position is also important. Covey offers more value as a backup WR. He knows the entire playbook has chemistry with Hurts than Gibson, who was one-dimensional. By consolidating the return function in Howie Roseman, might open a roster spot for another needy position, perhaps on the defensive line or in the secondary, which we discussed in previous video. The text makes an interesting mention of the past, reminding us that last year these responsibilities were shared by Kenneth Gainwell and Isaiah Rodgers. The departure of these two in free agency in this scenario of 2025 left a vacuum that the team took time to fill. They tried with rookies, they tried with rental veterans like Gibson, and now they went back to the household solution with Covey. This shows how difficult it is to find good returners in the modern NFL. The new kickoff rules changed the dynamic, and finding someone who has the vision of a runner and the safe hands of a receiver is an arduous task. It seems that after months looking outside, the answer was inside the house the whole time. Of course, every change brings risk. Britton Covey is not the most physically robust player on the roster. By increasing his workload, putting him in the line of fire of punt and kick returns, we increase his exposure to injuries. And if Covey gets hurt, who is plan C? The team has Cooper DeJean or Quinion Mitchell who could do this, but do you want to risk your starting cornerbacks returning kicks? Probably not. Gibson's waiver means we are betting all our chips on Covey's health and consistency. It is a calculated bet, but one that leaves the position's depth dangerously thin. This type of move also serves to keep the locker room alert. No one has a guaranteed spot. Xavier Gibson played 5 games, had decent numbers, almost 250 yards, but it wasn't enough. The message is make a difference or find another team. On a championship team, mediocrity is not tolerated, not even in specialist position. Britton Covey knows this. He knows the opportunity fell into his lap again, and that he needs to grab it with both hands literally. In the next matchup, keep an eye out when the opposing team goes to punt. Observe Britton Covey's posture. The first ball that falls in his direction will be the trial by fire. The crowd will hold their breath. If he makes the clean catch, advances 5 or 8 yards and goes down, protected, the decision will have been validated. If he drops the ball, the criticism will fall like an avalanche on Howie Roseman and Michael Clay's heads. It is a game of detail, and the Eagles just tweaked a crucial detail. In summary, Xavier Gibson is out. The speed experiment lasted 5 games and did not enchant. Britton Covey is back to the starting returner post. The team opted for safety and familiarity instead of betting on the unknown. The offense needs field help, and the coaching staff believes Covey is the right man to ensure possession starts without scares. I know waiving a returner isn't the bombshell news of a quarterback trade, but these are the moves that define tight playoff games. Now I want to know your opinion. Do you agree with waiving Xavier Gibson? Do you think he deserved more time to adapt? Or were 5 games enough to see he wasn't the guy? And about Britton Covey, do you feel safe with him returning kicks in decisive games, or are you afraid of his lack of size? Leave your opinion here in the comments. This debate on special teams is for those who understand real football. If you liked this detailed analysis on the trenches of our roster, leave a like and subscribe. Here, we cover everything from QB1 to the practice squad returner. Let's go together. Fly, Eagles, fly.